So over the last few days we've spoken about the physical reality on earth, and we talked about separate spiritual reality. We come from a spiritual reality, then we're born into the world and we go to a physical reality, and then we go back into a spiritual reality. You see, it's all good and well talking about all this spiritual reality, but we live in this earth. We've got a physical reality to contend with. We need to think about the right here, the right now, the present moment. Because we breathe in this world, we live in this world, we eat in this world, we work in this world. So I know we've said that we need to cultivate our spiritual reality by using the prescriptions that Allah Ta'ala has given us. But what do we do in this world? What's our physical reality? We've got to make a living, right? We have to go to work, we've got to provide for our families, interact with society as a whole, work with people of different belief systems, different ethnicities, different ways of being. So what does Islam teach us then about cultivating this physical reality? Do we just concentrate on the spiritual reality? Do we barricade ourselves in our homes, in our masjids, and pray, fast, and recite the Quran? Well, we don't, do we? So Islam isn't a religion which teaches monasticism. We don't simply go and confine ourselves into our masjids every day and night and just pray. We interact, we transact with the outside world. We don't have Islamic monks who remain celibate and go and live in a faraway place just to sort of practice their faith. So Islam teaches us that we positively interact and engage with the world around us. It teaches us the middle ground, moderation. So it teaches us integration rather than isolation. It teaches us contribution rather than just consumption. And it teaches us about opening dialogue, so a two-way process rather than just being a dictator, being a dictatorship. So what do we do to engage this world, and how should we engage this world? We should do it in the best way that we can. As Muslims, we can't just be satisfied with a state of mediocrity. We can't just be average. We can't be just, well, Chalsa. We've got to pursue excellence in everything that we do. So, Nabi Rasulullah was an illiterate man. And during the first verse that was revealed, Allah had compelled him to recite. And it first started with the word Iqra. Iqra bismi rabbik. Read in the name of thy Lord who created you from a clot and taught man what he knew not. So the first Quranic revelation started with read, recite. So from the very beginning, Islam has encouraged man to carve the path to pursue knowledge. So through history, the Muslim world has produced knowledge. It's produced people of intellect. So if I were to ask you, under which civilization was the first university in the world to have ever been created, what would your answer be? Yeah, so it was actually under the rule of Islamic Caliphate. But which particular Caliphate? Absolutely. So it was actually this sect, Shia Ismaili Fatimid tradition, that produced the first university ever known to man. That's fascinating, that this group of people, this community, produced the first ever university known to man anywhere. Where is this university? Well, it's in El Faiz in Morocco, and it started in 859 AD. The other fascinating thing is do you think it was a man or a lady who founded this university? By the question, it's almost implied that actually, yes, it was actually a woman. So a lady called Fatima al-Fihri. The second most prestigious university, and one of the most oldest institutions, is the Al-Azhar University. And that was again founded during the Fatimid dynasty. So the constant zeal to acquire knowledge in this early Islamic world has resulted in a golden age of the Islamic Empire where educational progress was merited, where acquisition of knowledge in the natural sciences was a way to know Allah, where translating this knowledge and doing some good with this world was a way of worship, ibadat itself. There was a time when Islam dominated the major thoughts of the world and was the premier thought in various subjects: medicine, astronomy, mathematics, physics, engineering, philosophy. So during the early decades of Islam, masjids such as this weren't just places where we discuss religion. We didn't just have religious texts in our bookshelves. They housed libraries with books on philosophy and science. These libraries weren't just open to a select few, which was the cultural norm at the time, where only the social elite were able to access education. It was accessible to everybody. So let's just take a couple of examples. So you had Ibn al-Haytham, who was known as the father of the modern scientific method, because he used experiment to verify theory. You had al-Zahrawi, who disseminated his 30-volume book called Kitab al-Tasrif, which is a book of medicine, which informed how medicine was utilized for 1,000 years. He invented more than 200 instruments. We can keep going, and that's not the point of this discussion. So how is it that we know that as Muslims we should pursue excellence, pursue knowledge? Because that's what the Ahlul Bayt demonstrated. That is what our Imams demonstrated. That's what they compelled us to do, to seek, inquire, to find out how the world works. So Maulana Ali alayhi salam said, remember, knowledge is better than wealth because it guards you. While you have to guard wealth, wealth decreases as you spend it, but the more you make use of knowledge, the more it increases. What you get through wealth is gone, and when the wealth is gone, but what you achieve through knowledge will remain forever after you are gone. So their speech, their acts, their behaviors, their transactions with the outside world demonstrated the pursuit of excellence in every iota of their existence. The physical and spiritual worlds weren't separate but merged into one, where the acquisition of knowledge allowed them to gain the understanding of and perfection of Allah's creation. So I think we should just take a few minutes just to study Maulana Ali alayhi salam. And Mullah Sahib often actually recites his stories, and he did so yesterday. So let's just dissect some of his actions and learn how being a role model, how he can be a role model for us in this world. So during his battles, we learn much from his chivalry and bravery, in his physique, in his morality, in his character, in his spirituality. So let's just take one particular phrase that we might see. So we see the phrase, La fatta illa ali wa la sayful inal zulfikar. So you might actually see it inscribed in Arabic on a sword. We normally have it dangling on our walls at home. Why do we have this dangling in our walls at home? What's the significance of it? So what does it actually mean? It means there is no chivalrous, no victorious man except Ali, and that there is no sword except Zulfikar. So just something for you to ponder on. What age do you think Ali was when this statement was made about him? Asif obviously knows the answer, so he said 20, so we're pretty close. It's 25 actually. So he was 25, so we often think, somebody of religion should be 50 or 60 or 70, but the greatest accomplishments he made was when he was young. In his youth he showed humility, sincerity, courage. And so just to set the scene, let's just discuss a couple of battles that he was involved in. So the first major battle in early Islam was that of Badr, when a very small Muslim army defeated the army of the Quraysh against all odds. The Quraysh were fuming, they couldn't take this loss, and they wondered, how does this small Muslim army defeat this massive army which has got so much might? Within a year later, it was during the Battle of Uhud that Maulana Ali alayhi salam demonstrated such ferocious strength, courage, bravery, and physical vigour. Many thought that the battle was lost, but Maulana Ali persisted in battle. He continued in the cause of Allah patiently, persistently, and ferociously. He laid his life on the line for Islam at the age of 25. And such were his actions that Muhammad Rasulullah had told Maula Ali, I just heard a call from the heavens. I heard Jibreel proclaim, La fatta illa Ali, wa la sayful innal zulfikar. So this sword which is hanging on our walls is actually a divine proclamation coming from the heavens itself. So Maulana Ali showed us that his bravery, sincerity and courage at the age of 25 was unique. And in some senses, Uhud was a metaphor that when you're wavering, maintain on the journey, because in that battle there are many who are wavering. He also gave us a snapshot of what it means to be chivalrous. Today, chivalry is often thought about as a way men approach women. So, if you open the door for a lady, you're thought to be chivalrous. But the traditional perspective of chivalry is a bit deeper. It's a social, moral and religious code which was associated with sincerity, courage, loyalty, and a will and determination to stand up for what is right and speak out against injustice. We don't just see it in the male members of the Ahlul Bayt, we see it amongst the ladies of the house too. And hopefully, inshallah, we hope to speak more about this on Tuesday, citing Bibi Zainab alayhi salam's example. I would say that's a difficult thing to achieve in today's society, because we live in a society which is filled with lots of practices and ideals which cannot make it easy for us to fulfill the values and requirements of Islam. Perhaps we learn from Maulana Ali alayhi salam that irrespective of how hard it is or how easy it is, we should still pursue such values. We all learned something from the Battle of Khandaq also. So during the Battle of Khandaq, Maulana Ali alayhi salam fought one of the most arrogant but the most able soldier at that time. So during the battle, this arrogant soldier said, "Where are you, O Muhammad's army? Where are you to fight me? What are you frightened of? If you kill me, you say you'll go to heaven, and if you kill me, or if you get killed, you're still going to go to heaven. So what are you afraid of?" So there are lots of people who are afraid of fighting this man. And so none could stand up except Maulana Ali. So he went to the enemy and presented himself. He said, "I am Ali, son of Abu Talib." During the battle, they started to fight. The enemy spat at Maulana Ali alayhi salam. Ali walked away. And at this point, the enemy and the companions thought that he was withdrawing from battle. After the battle, the companions asked Ali as to what had happened, why he walked away. Ali explained, "A noble warrior does not strike another warrior because he has angered them. He only strikes because the warrior has angered Allah. Had I struck him straight away, it would have been because of my anger and my ego, rather than for the true cause." And so he demonstrates this height of wisdom at the age of 25, and of course he kills this enemy. Let's just take a moment and just think about these characters, because we're taken through that story today and tomorrow. Maulana Ali alayhi salam, Imam Hussain alayhi salam, Janab Abbas alayhi salam. What do we see? Just think, what type of physique will these guys have? Do you think these men will be able to fight if they were big with large bellies protruding at the midriff? Do you think they looked after their physical self? Well, of course. You can't just defeat the strongest soldiers in Arabia if you're not fit. We often think about religious people as being fairly mono-dimensional, but these guys weren't just one-dimensional. They trained. They exercised. They really sort of maximized every faculty that they did at the time. So things like horse riding, archery, skills of battle. They were tall, muscular men with broad shoulders who weren't just spiritually trim, but physically also. They would eat well and be healthy. So we must ask ourselves, do we pursue spiritual excellence like they do? Do we pursue physical excellence? I mean, do we really associate ourselves as being followers of Amirul Mu'mineen? As those who really work hard with their physique? We ought to, because that's what their example is. We should be at the gym. Do we pursue dietary excellence? Do you think Maulana Ali alayhi salam would have eaten the junk food we eat now? Or do you think he ate food which was pure, which did little to contaminate the earth around him? Do you think Ali pursued moral excellence? How did he treat others? Well, he would have never allowed his ego or anger to affect him, as we've shown. So we can learn a great deal by examining the lives of these characters. To pursue moral excellence, we can learn to be morally upright by doing simple things every day. Giving the seat on the bus when somebody's elder, or keeping the door open to somebody, or keeping Allah's earth clean and pure, to be polite, to speak out when you see injustice. These are all examples of what they actually show us. To pursue physical excellence, to keep ourselves nice and trim, fit, strong, active. To pursue intellectual excellence, to pursue knowledge, strive to work hard, learn, inspire, educate. We should, as their followers, have the best gym habits, the best dietary habits, the best moral habits, the best studying habits. Even when we play, we should be playing really hard. So it's not all about money and prestige. It's about the impact this has on us individually and as a society. So when it comes to the pursuit of excellence, we cannot afford to be satisfied with mediocrity. We as Muslims, as believers, as followers of the Amir al-Mu'mineen, as followers of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, should push ourselves to do better. So if you're studying, study better. If I'm volunteering, volunteer better. Be a better secretary, Right now, some of us have freedoms that we will never have in our life. Many of us still have our youth, our physique, our mental ability, and a stronger capacity for patience. This is a time of our lives we need to make the most of our most of the peak of our physical and mental abilities. So it's just a very short snapshot, and that's the end of the discussion today. And tomorrow is a day of Ashura, and tomorrow is a very simple prologue to the Shahadat Bayan, to allow our hearts and minds to remember Imam Hussein and the martyrs of Karbala, to prepare for the Shahadat Bayan to come. So inshallah that's going to be very short tomorrow before Shahadat Bayan. Thank you for your time once again.